When you give us an idea of actually the acquisition of Exchange for Free, how has that integration worked and what does it mean for your expansion across Africa?
Sure, and thanks for having me here, Francine. When you're talking about payments and foreign exchange across the African continent, the story is really about infrastructure. So every time you enter one of the 55 markets to be able to make a market in that currency pair or trade cross-border, it's all about having a license, having deep relationships with the banking infrastructure, having connection to the API last mile, and then of course the clients and the revenue. But the infrastructure comes first. So this acquisition in South Africa is an acquisition play, an infrastructure play, and it helped us get right into the market with deep infrastructure, some of the best in the business, and take over some of the key clients in South Africa.
So Elizabeth, has it actually enabled you to do things that you couldn't do before?
Yeah, of course. Now we can make a market in ZAR ourselves. Before acquiring this company, the South African rand was very hard to access, given the monopoly on some of the brokerage licenses that are down there. So really to be able to get into the market and have a license and have a partnership with a local financial institution to be able to make the market ourselves straight off our balance sheet helps us lower the costs and ease the transaction ability between the South African rand and other African markets. So if you look right now, it can be up to 19% for companies, large travel companies, large payment companies, to go between South Africa and Nigeria. And remember, Nigeria is the 7th largest country in the world right now, according to population. It's a huge market. And to not be able to trade efficiently and effectively between two of the largest markets in Africa seems insane, but it is the case. So by us entering into the South African market and adding it to our infrastructure, we're able to lower the cost dramatically, increase the speed, and of course, reduce friction.
So Elizabeth, how's your expansion plan? Or, I think set your eyes on also the Middle East and certain parts, including Egypt. When will that happen? Is this the next step, or will you take a little bit of time?
No, we're ready to go. I mean, we've been 8 years in the market building, and I think we have the formula down on how to enter the market, how to make the pair, how to expand the team and scale the operations efficiently. We have a centralized platform of compliance and trading. So adding into new markets is part of the plan. It's part of the model. We've been active in Abu Dhabi, which of course had its arms wide open for fintechs for a few years right now. But I think going deeper into the market, into Dubai, is essential. And in Egypt, we'll be launching in Q4 through a partnership, but in both markets, we're looking to acquire as well.
When you see, Elizabeth, I guess the way that we look at the markets has changed. This can be because of retail investors. It can be with a lot of things. Does it help actually the case for AZA? Does it change the way that, you think the marketplace will operate in 4, 5, 6, 10 years from now?
Oh, definitely. And I wrote about this for the World Economic Forum, where I work actively to promote south of the border or trade south-south. I mean, what we've seen in the last year and a half with COVID has been an awakening of large clients to come away from the practices and policies and partners that they are familiar with and go to what maybe works better. So I think we had a hesitance among global treasurers and Fortune 50 to try something new, and they couldn't understand to do a couple $1 million transaction with what they would call a startup. I mean, technically, I'm an 8-year-old growth company, but in this day and age, if you're under the age of 60 and your CEO, looks like I do, I guess you're still in startup territory. But we're trading billions per year, and we're the new partner, we're the new counterparty. So I think COVID-19 reduced the reluctance of a lot of large companies to try something different. And in a lot of ways, a lot of the banks went offline. We saw in the heart of lockdown, all of the Nigerian banks really struggled to get their staff to log online. I mean, even us, we had to allocate energy credits and, send out computers and infrastructure. And we're used to being a distributed company with a lot of staff working remotely. Even for us, it took a little bit of time. But for the rest of the banking infrastructure in a lot of these markets, their team had never worked from home. They had no idea how to manage that. So trading stopped. And, we saw a real slowdown in the way payments were processed and who customers were onboarded. So I think that really broke down a lot of barriers.
Elizabeth, do you see, who's your biggest rival? Who do you consider your biggest rival? And actually, do you think you'll get approaches by some of the bigger banks to, try and buy you out?
So it's still very fragmented across the African continent. You have real champions maybe in each corner of the continent, Northern champions, Western Anglophone, Western Francophone, Southern African, East African, but you don't really have one global champion across the entire continent. And so for us, we compete locally with partners that are strong maybe in that one market, but the second that a client needs to operate in more than one market, they come to us. So they might have a great partnership in Senegal, but if they don't have a partner in Ghana, it doesn't make sense for them to have counterparties everywhere. So we really provide that quilt, that patchwork quilt across the entire continent, giving the same quality of service, the same level of speed, and a real attention to detail when it comes to integrating their technology. And so, it's hard to say we don't have a competitor. We have many competitors in each market, but nobody's doing the cross-border and the Pan-African the way we are.
Elizabeth, thanks so much. Elizabeth Rossiello there, AZA Finance Chief Executive and Founder.